Welcome, seeker of truth. The path you walk now may be more significant than you realize. Many souls wander through countless lifetimes, learning, growing, and evolving through the eternal cycle of rebirth. But there comes a moment in the soul's journey when the wheel begins to slow. The signs are subtle at first, whispers from the universe that your soul has reached the culmination of its earthly lessons. The ancient wisdom keepers have long spoken of this sacred transition. Edgar once described this phenomenon as the soul's graduation, a time when the spirit has fulfilled its karmic contracts and stands at the threshold of liberation. But how can you know if this is your final journey in physical form? The first profound sign that you may be experiencing your last incarnation is that you have truly learned your primary karmic lessons. Think back to the recurring patterns in your life, those emotional challenges that seem to follow you like shadows. Perhaps you've struggled with forgiveness, with setting boundaries, or with finding your authentic voice in this world. When these lessons are completely integrated, there's a profound sense of resolution that washes over your being. Look deeply at your relationships, those mirrors of our unhealed wounds. Do you find yourself responding differently to old triggers? Where once there was reactivity, is there now compassion? Where there was attachment, is there now freedom? This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's the culmination of many lifetimes of work, tears, and growth. The soul that has mastered its karmic lessons moves through life with a graceful acceptance, even amidst challenges. I remember counseling a woman who had endured tremendous betrayal in her life. In past incarnations, this pattern had led to bitterness and revenge, perpetuating the cycle. But in this lifetime, something remarkable had happened. She had found the strength to forgive completely, not just in words, but in the depths of her heart. "It feels like setting down a burden I've carried for thousands of years," she told me. This wasn't merely emotional healing. It was the completion of a soul contract that had spanned many lifetimes. When you've resolved these primary wounds, life no longer feels like a battlefield, but rather a classroom where you've completed your final exams. You may notice that certain situations that once caused immense suffering now barely ripple the surface of your peace. This isn't detachment, but transcendence, the natural result of having fully embodied the lesson. The ancient texts speak of this as burning away the seeds of karma. Each difficult experience you've integrated with wisdom has consumed a karmic seed that would otherwise have bloomed in another lifetime. When the major seeds are gone, the soul prepares for liberation. As you reflect on your life journey, ask yourself, do I face my deepest wounds with new eyes? Have the lessons that once seemed impossible to learn now become the very foundation of my wisdom? This integration of your most challenging karmic lessons isn't about achieving perfection, it's about completion. The soul recognizes when its primary curriculum has been fulfilled. In the silence of meditation, listen to the voice of your higher self. Those who approach their final incarnation often report a profound sense of having come full circle, a recognition that the major themes of their soul's journey are reaching their natural conclusion. This knowing isn't intellectual, but visceral, a deep recognition that resonates through every cell of your being. The souls who stand at this threshold often become natural teachers, not through effort, but through embodiment. They carry the light of their hard-won wisdom, not as a burden, but as a gift to be shared freely with others, still walking earlier stages of the path. The second profound sign that you may be experiencing your final incarnation manifests as an unmistakable clarity about your spiritual purpose. This isn't simply having career goals or personal ambitions. It's a bone-deep knowing of why your soul chose this incarnation and what it came here to contribute. In earlier lifetimes, we often wander through experiences, pulled by desires and pushed by fears, learning through trial and error. But as the soul approaches its graduation from the physical plane, a luminous clarity emerges. Your purpose becomes aligned with universal principles rather than personal gain. You find yourself naturally drawn to service, to healing, to teaching, or to creating beauty that elevates consciousness. This purpose isn't something you need to search for. It finds you. It wells up from within like a spring that can no longer be contained. Many who are living their final incarnation report a moment of recognition when they understood exactly why they were here. This realization often comes after periods of intense spiritual seeking or following a profound awakening experience. I once counseled a physician who, midway through a successful career, experienced such an awakening. My work was always meaningful, he shared, but suddenly I understood that healing bodies was just the outer layer of my purpose. My true calling is to help people recognize the connection between their physical suffering and spiritual journey. This wasn't an abandonment of his medical practice, but an expansion of it, infusing his work with a deeper dimension that served both body and soul. Those approaching their final incarnation often serve without fanfare or recognition. Their ego's need for validation has been tempered through many lifetimes. Their service flows from authentic compassion rather than obligation or desire for spiritual credentials. They understand that we are all expressions of the same divine consciousness. Making service to others simply service to another aspect of the greater self. This clarity of purpose doesn't mean your path will be free from obstacles. Often, the soul chooses significant challenges in its final incarnation, not as punishment, but as opportunities to express its highest wisdom and complete any remaining spiritual lessons. What distinguishes souls in their final incarnation is how they meet these challenges, with acceptance, wisdom, and a trust in the divine unfolding of their path. You may notice that your decisions increasingly arise from a place of inner guidance, rather than external pressures or conventional wisdom. Where once you might have agonized over choices, you now find yourself guided by an internal compass that points unerringly toward your highest expression. This doesn't mean you never experience doubt. It means that beneath the temporary clouds of uncertainty, there remains an unshakable knowing of your soul's direction. Another marker of this clarity of purpose is the natural alignment of your daily actions with your spiritual values. The gap between what you believe and how you live narrows until your life becomes a coherent expression of your innermost truth. This integration happens not through rigid discipline, but through the soul's natural maturation, like fruit that softens and sweetens as it ripens on the vine. Those living their final incarnation often become spiritual bridges, individuals who can translate eternal wisdom into practical guidance for everyday life. They may not use spiritual terminology or identify with particular traditions, yet their presence alone reminds others of their own divine nature. Their words carry the weight of lived experience rather than borrowed knowledge. If you find yourself naturally embodying your spiritual understandings without effort or pretense, if your purpose flows through you with increasing clarity and conviction, if service to life has become as natural as breathing, these may be signs that your soul is completing its cycle of physical incarnations. This purpose-driven existence isn't measured by external achievements, but by the quality of presence you bring to each moment. A soul nearing completion may fulfill its purpose through raising conscious children, creating healing art, or simply being a steady presence of compassion in a troubled world. The form is less important than the essence, a life lived in conscious alignment with divine purpose. As you reflect on your own journey, consider, does your life feel guided by something greater than personal desire? Has service become a natural expression rather than an obligation? Do you find yourself increasingly able to discern and follow your unique spiritual calling? This clarity of purpose, when it emerges from the depths of your being rather than from external conditioning, may indeed be a sign that your soul is preparing for its graduation from the wheel of rebirth. The third profound indication that you may be experiencing your final incarnation is a natural detachment from material pursuits and worldly ambitions. This isn't about rejecting the physical world or denying life's pleasures. It's about seeing through the illusion that lasting fulfillment can be found in external achievements or possessions. In earlier incarnations, the soul is often deeply entangled in material pursuits. We chase wealth, status, power, and recognition, believing these will bring us the peace and security we crave. This pursuit isn't wrong. It's a necessary stage in the soul's education. Through many lifetimes of acquiring and losing, of tasting both abundance and scarcity, the soul gradually discovers that material fulfillment alone cannot quench its deepest thirst. Those approaching their final incarnation have completed this lesson. They may still enjoy life's comforts and beauty, but they no longer mistake the container for the essence. Material possessions become tools for expressing purpose rather than sources of identity or security. This shift isn't forced. It emerges naturally as the soul recognizes the temporary nature of all physical forms. I once worked with a woman who had built a successful business empire. By conventional standards, she had achieved remarkable success, wealth, influence, recognition. Yet she came to me feeling inexplicably empty. "Something has changed," she confided. "I look at all I've built, and while I'm grateful, it no longer feels like enough. It's as if I'm being called towards something that can't be measured or displayed." This wasn't depression or burnout. It was her soul's natural evolution beyond material metrics of success. This detachment often manifests as a simplified lifestyle, not from ascetic discipline, but from recognizing what truly matters. You may find yourself naturally releasing possessions that once seemed essential, clearing physical and energetic space for what nurtures your soul. Decisions about how to spend your resources, time, energy, money, increasingly align with your deepest values rather than social expectations or habits of accumulation. Those living their final incarnation often experience a profound shift in their relationship with time. The urgent drive to achieve and acquire gives way to a deeper appreciation for being fully present. You may notice yourself less concerned with building a legacy that will outlast you and more focused on bringing consciousness to each moment. This isn't resignation, but liberation, the freedom that comes when you no longer measure your worth by your worldly accomplishments. This detachment extends beyond material possessions to include identities and roles that once defined you. Career titles, social status, even cherished self-images, all are held more lightly. You recognize these as temporary expressions rather than the essence of who you are. This doesn't diminish your commitment to your responsibilities. Rather, it infuses them with a spaciousness that allows for greater wisdom and compassion. Another sign of this material transcendence is a changing relationship with desire itself. Earlier incarnations are often driven by wanting more, wanting different, wanting what others have. As the soul matures, desire doesn't disappear, but transforms. You may find yourself desiring experiences that expand consciousness rather than acquire possessions, connections that deepen understanding rather than enhance status. This shift doesn't happen overnight. Many who approach their final incarnation have experienced significant material losses or challenges that stripped away external identities. These weren't punishments, but initiations, sacred opportunities to discover the unshakable core that remains when all else falls away. Through these trials, the soul discovers that its true wealth lies in wisdom, compassion, and connection to the divine. If you find yourself naturally gravitating towards simpler living, if your priorities have shifted from accumulation to contribution, if you can enjoy abundance without attachment and face material challenges without despair, these may be signs that your soul is completing its journey through physical incarnations. Those at this stage often discover a profound paradox. As their attachment to material outcomes diminishes, their ability to manifest what they truly need increases. This isn't magical thinking, but the natural result of alignment with universal flow. When your desires arise from essence rather than ego, when you trust in divine timing rather than forcing outcomes, life responds with remarkable synchronicity. This doesn't mean abandoning practical concerns or responsibilities. Indeed, souls in their final incarnation often manage worldly affairs with exceptional clarity precisely because they aren't entangled in them. They bring presence and wisdom to financial decisions, career choices, and material stewardship, recognizing these as expressions of spiritual values rather than separate from them. As you reflect on your own journey, consider, has your relationship with material pursuits shifted in fundamental ways? Do you find peace in simplicity rather than accumulation? Can you enjoy abundance without clinging and face loss without despair? This natural detachment from material illusions, when it flows from wisdom rather than avoidance, may indeed signal that your soul is completing its cycle of physical incarnations. The final signs that you may be experiencing your last incarnation manifest as profound transformations in your capacity for love and your connection to divine consciousness. These two elements, compassion for all beings and heightened spiritual awareness, represent the culmination of the soul's journey through countless lifetimes. Let us first explore the blossoming of unconditional love. In earlier incarnations, love is often conditional and limited. We love those who love us, those who share our blood or beliefs, those who benefit us. This love, while genuine, remains tethered to ego and separation. As the soul approaches its graduation from physical existence, love expands beyond these boundaries. You may notice that compassion flows more naturally from your being, without calculation or expectation of return. This isn't sentimentality, but a profound recognition of the sacred in all life. Those living their final incarnation often exhibit a remarkable ability to love those who have harmed them, to remain open-hearted in the face of rejection, to extend kindness to strangers as readily as to family. I recall counseling an elderly man who had endured terrible cruelty in his youth. What struck me most was his genuine concern for the well-being of those who had harmed him. "I see now that they were caught in their own suffering," he explained. "My greatest wish is that they found peace." This wasn't forced forgiveness or spiritual bypassing. It was the natural compassion of a soul that had transcended the cycle of harm and retribution that keeps many bound to the wheel of rebirth. This expansion of love doesn't mean becoming a doormat or denying boundaries. Indeed, those completing their incarnation cycle often establish clearer boundaries, not from fear, but from respect for the sacred journey of all involved. Their no carries the same loving awareness as their yes. They understand that true compassion sometimes means allowing others to experience the consequences of their choices. The hallmark of this evolved love is its steadiness. Where once your capacity to love might have fluctuated with circumstances or emotions, you may now find a wellspring of compassion that remains accessible even during challenges. This doesn't mean you never experience anger, hurt, or disappointment. These emotions may still arise. The difference is that they no longer obscure the underlying love that is your essence. Alongside this expansion of love, the soul approaching its final incarnation often experiences a profound deepening of spiritual connection. This manifests not necessarily as dramatic, mystical experiences, though these may occur, but as a sustained awareness of divine presence in everyday life. Your intuition may become more reliable and clear, offering guidance that transcends logical analysis. Dreams might take on new significance, becoming portals for spiritual insight or communication. You may experience moments of profound unity consciousness, episodes where the boundaries between self and other, human and divine, momentarily dissolve, revealing the interconnected fabric of all existence. This heightened spiritual awareness isn't about escaping the physical world, but about perceiving its sacred dimension. Those in their final incarnation often report experiencing ordinary moments, a sunset, a child's laughter, even washing dishes, with extraordinary clarity and appreciation. Time seems to expand in these moments, revealing eternity within the temporal. Many also develop a more direct and personal relationship with divine guidance. This may not fit neatly into religious categories. It's an intimate communion that transcends doctrine. You might sense the presence of spiritual guides or ascended masters, not as external authorities, but as aspects of expanded consciousness, offering loving support for your journey. Perhaps most significantly, those living their final incarnation often experience a profound shift in their relationship with death. Where once there was fear or avoidance, there emerges a peaceful acceptance. This isn't morbid fascination, but soul recognition, an understanding that physical death is not an ending, but a transition, a doorway the soul has passed through many times before. This acceptance doesn't diminish the value of physical life. On the contrary, it infuses each day with greater meaning and presence. Those approaching their soul's graduation often live with remarkable vitality and engagement, free from the unconscious fear that limits so many. They understand that immortality isn't about extending physical existence indefinitely, but about recognizing the eternal nature of consciousness itself. If you find yourself experiencing these shifts, a heart that opens more easily to all beings, an intuition that guides with increasing clarity, moments of unity consciousness that reveal the sacred dimension of ordinary life, you may indeed be approaching the completion of your incarnation cycle. Remember that these signs aren't achievements to be pursued, but recognitions to be honored. The soul's journey unfolds in divine timing, perfect in its unique rhythm. Whether this is your final incarnation or one of many yet to come, each moment offers an opportunity to embody the love, wisdom, and presence that are your true nature. As our exploration concludes, I invite you to hold these insights lightly. The mystery of soul evolution is too vast to be fully captured in words. Trust your own inner knowing, that quiet voice of wisdom that resonates with truth beyond intellectual understanding. For in the end, whether this is your final incarnation matters less than how fully you embody love and consciousness in this precious lifetime you've been given. Has this message resonated with the depths of your being? If you felt a spark of recognition in these words, you're not alone. Your presence here is no accident. It's part of your soul's magnificent unfolding. Subscribe now to continue this sacred exploration together. Join our community of awakening souls walking this path of transformation.